All right. So if you watched the last video, it was the basic idea, the basic premise was that we were going to see downside in this market, and that's been happening. And you know, I've been short, and there were a lot of reasons to go short. And now the task is to figure out how much farther down this market has to go. Okay. Hold on. So we have Bitcoin in the upper 5Ks. You know, based on a long-term trap. So basically, if I look at this Bitcoin chart, because the main thing that I'm using is Bitcoin, though I have to look at CoinMarketCap, all market cap chart, which is all cryptos. It's basically an S&P sort of. If I look, and it's important to re-go over this because it keeps giving me confidence, and it gives me more staying power emotionally and mentally to stay in the trade. This is a clear triangle that's broken to the downside. You have a retest of this break, and now you're looking for follow through. I'm looking for follow through. Now the thing is, this is projecting because this distance from the top to the bottom, the first top to the first bottom, is here to here. So this would be 13K, and this is 6,000. So that's 7,000 points. Okay, 13,000 to 7,000. What is this projecting? That's 7,000 point distance. That's projecting from here, which is around just under 7,000, close to zero. Okay, so I mean, can it go there? Yeah, I mean, it certainly can. I don't think Bitcoin has any real fundamental value. Unlike a lot of people, it's just a technology, and there's a lot of imitators that are just as good or better. Okay. But if I use this distance, it's to here, it's more like 6K. So we'll just go by that because it's going to be very hard to hold Bitcoin all the way down to like $100. Though I can do it, I think I'd have to do it in pieces. So where is the next place where I'm going to get a significant bounce? Certainly the low 5K area, I would think. And I think I'm going to have to use a combination of things. I think that I cannot just use Bitcoin. I think I cannot just use Ethereum, or I would have to use a lot of things because I have a lot of support coming in at Bitcoin Cash and Ripple and Ethereum, and those could turn into a significant bottom across the board. Okay. All right. So on this chart, I have this peak was 5,000, and then these lows were that low tested 5,000, a little over 5,000, roughly, something like that. So 5,000. Also, every round, like every one of these big 1,000 marks have been respected. So I'm not gonna go about like betting that we're just gonna crash right through. That's much less likely. Okay, that's just not likely. So from this chart alone, 5,000 is very clear. What else can I use? Because that is support, but there could be another support that another varying reason for a low that becomes very important. So often the next move is a similar distance to the prior move. So if I have this high being like, you know, just about 68.50 to this low, 57.50, that's $1,100. So if I take this projection from here, that's 6,300. That's 63.50 almost. That projects 52.50. And so that based on that, we have 5K not quite getting hit. That is always very difficult to trade because it's always because if I cover at 52.50 or something like that, I'm gonna have to deal with concerns that it'll drop to 5,000. I'm gonna miss another 5% drop, and that's gonna be like 7% in like alts or 8% in alts, alternative cryptos. And so, and then it's, you know, it's gonna be like, oh fuck, I missed it, and then I'm gonna want, you know, it's gonna be very hard to want to get back in. So I think if I have to cover at 52.50 or low, like 52.50, 5300, there's no way I can long, because I don't think Bitcoin is gonna get past 6,000. It might get to like 5,800 even, and that's about it. And so that's not enough room to go long and then like adjust with commission and slippage. It is enough. It is maybe fine to cover some, maybe half my position, but I think going long is not something that makes sense. Just covering some of the position is a better option. Okay. And one thing I want to point out is part of the reason I think we're seeing not really any movement here is that part of the reason I think there's no movement here is that I have a closed Bollinger Band on the daily chart, and closed Bollinger Bands are very reliable as something that will not break. Okay, that day. So the new day starts, I think, at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and when that happens, we're gonna get we're likely gonna see that next move down. Which gives me more time to plan my next move and what to do, because I want to be ready what to do now and not like thinking I can figure it all out at that time, because at that time I need to be busy covering my positions, which are large, and so I'll need to I'll basically need to be like mopping up whatever selling is still going on there to cover my shorts. By the time things flip, if I don't know what to do, you know, I might not have time to go long. I'll be chasing price up, and that will be a very bad situation. Okay. Is there anything on MACD or volume that is helpful? Not particularly. I mean, if I saw like there was a very clear steady decline in volume, I would know we're getting close to bottom, but there isn't really. Maybe a little, but but we also have these large volume single moves here, 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 and so that makes looking at volume as a measure of like a bottom as not as good. So if I saw like a lot of volume here in this area, that means a lot of people are selling. But as price is dropping, if fewer people are selling, that probably means not as many people want to sell here, and there's gonna be more people that want to buy, right? But that doesn't really seem to be going on. Okay. Alright. So yeah, again, what I'm trying to do with this analysis, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And so the information is out there, the raw information, and then I have to make sense, and then I have to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Okay. Um, okay. So I guess volume isn't all too helpful right now. What's it called? Alright. One thing I want to check, do I have divergence that would say that this low, which is similar to the last low, is... See, there is some divergence that says this low, that we're going to see a bounce back to like maybe 60 to 6,000s from here. I don't know. But I think that this is more of a situation where we had MACD come back to like even, I guess. It's pulled back enough where it's kind of recharged for the next leg down. I think that's probably more what's going on. Okay. I'm gonna go to and look at other charts right now. So I'll look at Ethereum. See, I have all these MetaTrader 4 charts out, but the prices are a little off from Bitfinex, and that's what I want to use because that's an actual exchange that the market uses. And so some of the trend lines and lines are not like on longer term are not like totally accurate on this MetaTrader feed. So I like using MetaTrader because it shows me like everything, like all the major cryptos at once, or like 6 of the majors. And I can see them very quickly on multiple time frames, and I can read price action easily there. But I guess on overall analysis, I'd prefer to use CryptoWatch. Okay, so I'm opening up these various charts, and ultimately I need to figure out what the fuck to do when price gets to the low 5Ks, and where in the low 5Ks I need to, in Bitcoin, where I need to cover. Okay. Is there any other big ones that I want to look at? I'll look at Dash, Monero, Oda, and I guess that will be most of my analysis, and Zcash and OMG. Okay, it's enough of a collection of the major cryptos that are like the biggest cryptocurrencies or assets by market cap that I think that these are mostly what the markets will respond to. So we're at Ethereum. Okay. And first thing to notice is that there's very clearly this lower trend line. Ugh, this is ridiculous. This key trend line we just broke. So if I go back, this is really big. So I have one touch here, one touch here, one touch here, that bottom here. Oh man, I mean, to think that this is really just gonna like fall very easily is crazy. This is going to break in a major way. And I guess, you know what, had I actually been looking at this, I could have even added to my short at around 420. See the things I learn and relearn. I think I saw this trend line before, I forgot it though. Obviously I drew it. But this is a very important trend line. I'm gonna send a chart of that to somebody. So we are primed for a flush down. Which is fucking great. Now here's the thing, at these prior lows, I think there's a very good likelihood of a bounce, like at around 360. And that's where I want to cover, in the low 360s, upper 350s if it gets there. But I want to cover, not go long, because it's very possible we'll get a bounce there, and maybe get a rise back to like 400. Okay. And if I had seen that trend line earlier today, I could have put in a short and made more money. Yeah. It pays to do this analysis. It's just it's not like I do the analysis and I get paid immediately. I'll find opportunities and have to wait for them and then trade them. But I'll have the knowledge of what those are, and I will have more confidence to be able to handle and trade them right. So that's why I have to keep doing the analysis to keep my confidence of what's going on at a very high level. Okay. But yeah, I mean, this trend line break is really pointing to a further drop to the upper part of the mid 360s before we get any kind of bounce, and then and that might correlate with the low 5Ks in Bitcoin. All right. So I'm very glad I saw that. That's freaking awesome. Alright, is there anything else I can learn on the Ethereum chart? Not really. I do have a slight decline in volume going on, but I mean, I would guess it's just... I would guess it's just because, you know, it's not as easy to short from here. And there's not as many long liquidations as there probably were at the top. But I guess I don't want to speculate on it too much. I'm just noticing it. It's not like a huge enough pattern though that I'm thinking like that's a concern. Because at this bottom, I actually had, as we got closer to the bottom, I had volume increasing. So I think the divergence in volume helps a lot on the upside, but maybe not as much on the downside. Like when the price is going up, if I have declining volume, it's a very clear marker that there's not as much buying. But on the downside, it's a little more difficult because it's not so much selling that's causing moves down. It's like stop losses getting hit and stuff like that. Okay. Alright, well, I guess that's it. One thing I can do is I can look at other time frames to see if there's more information that I can look at. Not particularly. There's one thing I can also see is this, you could say, like a triangle, even like that lower trend line with this. Oh shit, I just lost that trend line. I don't want to lose that trend line. It's a very key trend line. What the heck? See, this is why I hate Crypto Watch. I can't see shit. Alright. Or these trend lines just do not draw reasonably well. I'm not even sure how to... I can't just hold it. God damn. I mean, remember that trend line's broken. And so again, the next major support is, I mean, we're coming into it right now. But I guess without trend lines, it can be helpful to look at. So I see this low here, these lows, and then this top, all at around 390, which is actually kind of a bad sign for, because we're so close to it, right? We're like 4%, so will that be the bottom? I think some people will be closing there, but I think because of this clear trend line break, that's really, to get like only a 4% decline from here, or 5% decline would be very mitigated. And if we did, the bounce up wouldn't be that much either. Because at most, I think we'd get a retest of the trend line before we'd have followed through to the downside. And then again, can I still not draw this trend line? I think I'm not going to be able to. And this is why this is such a problematic, you know, I mean, I wish I could just undo whatever I did, because I need those, oh, thank God. See, I can't even close this trend line. How am I supposed to deal with this? Oh, thank God. Okay, and Ripple is getting creamed. I have a downside target of Ripple and only like not that much lower, 7%. Because there's a lot of support in coming up. So I'll have to see. I guess it will depend on everything hitting their major support levels. Like if everything hits it at the same time, I'll cover. But if only one hits and, you know, others don't, it will be very hard to want to cover. And I think at that point I would have to take Bitcoin reaching the low 5Ks before I cover anything. Okay, so I guess in terms of Ethereum, I think I've learned about as much as I can to figure out what to do. So again, I have support starting from 390 down to about 360. Somewhere in there I have to cover. Because it's unlikely we're just going to slice through with no reaction as if those things that never existed. Alright. Okay, so I guess that's it for Ethereum. There's another Ethereum chart. Alright, EOS. I had a really bad experience shorting EOS, and then when the market turned, EOS was the first to turn. And I'm really wary of that because it kind of turned without news, and so I don't like situations like that because maybe it's just the strongest one in general. But we do have a lot of support coming in EOS. This whole area, and from like around $6, that's probably gonna see some kind of bounce. Though I don't think we're gonna have anything like we had before. What is this? Bitcoin Cash. Well, holy shit. I mean, we're less than 10% away from the last major low, which was at 600. I mean, we do have that broken trend line here, but it's not a strong trend line because there's only 2 touches. I mean, you can connect it into random points, and so it's not necessarily true that people were gonna buy it, and they didn't buy it off that trend line. So I don't think it was really treated as a big deal. I don't really. But this 600 level, this is probably a bigger deal, and that is a point to cover a lot. Okay. But there's still like, maybe 8% to go, 9% even. And so it's not a cover yet situation. But certainly you could have bounced back from 600 back to like 700. That could happen. right? Before I finish, I am going to go over the coin market chart also. So yeah, I mean, is there anything in terms of divergence I see? MACD? I mean, not necessarily. I have Bollinger Bands, so do I have closed Bollinger Bands? No, not really. We are very close to support, and you know, that has to be a cover place. But it would need to be collective. Like if Bitcoin is just sitting here, there's such a high chance Bitcoin will fall through that those other things can fall through. That will be a very hard situation to cover. So I just don't think that will happen. Yeah, what I do want to see is Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash and whatever. I like just stay here not fall without Bitcoin, because these are all, this is not a place I want to cover in Bitcoin. In part because it's just like, I want to see this area broken. Then it will be much more established and easier to short. Even though like I would still short if Bitcoin got back into the 6Ks. It would be like a higher diving board. In some ways that would be good. It's just like psychologically easier for me to deal with a clear break firmly of the 6K area and of the prior major low in the CoinMarketCap all market cap index. Okay, Litecoin. So again, we have this clear breakdown in Litecoin, and what is this projecting? I mean, this is freaking projecting like basically $1 or less. I wouldn't be surprised, but doesn't mean there won't be stopping points. And where are those stopping points in Litecoin? I mean, you have this high here at 70. But basically this whole area, I guess you could say, in the mid 50s to something like to 60, something like that. It just, will we drop that far? That would be a huge drop of like, you know, 20% or something almost, or more than that. And given Ethereum and Bitcoin's Bitcoin's support is certainly less, much closer than that. Ethereum's is we can drop like that much. I mean, it really will depend a lot, and Ripple doesn't have that much room, and so like again, this is a bit trickier. If all of them were going to reach support at the same time, it would be a lot easier. But again, I mean, ultimately it's not good to get out of the shorts. I'm not going to get out entirely, but you know, it does make sense to cover at certain points, and 5K is one of those, I think, big areas, and we're approaching a lot of support and a lot of things where there's likely to be a bounce. But after, like, as soon as I get like a serious bounce, I want to start getting back in. ETC, I fucking am, like, I'm really frustrated with, because it's a huge position that I have. And basically, I thought this is like a head and shoulders break. I shorted here and dealt with this pullback. Now we've broken back down through the trend line, and you know, I'm looking for this to take off now, down. But that fucking is gonna be muted because we're approaching a lot of support in Bitcoin. So I do think we're headed for a lot lower in ETC, much lower. But you know, I have to deal with a lot of these temporary movements, which really suck to deal with. Yeah, I mean, that's... Yeah, I mean, the daily Bollinger Band of the Bitcoin is saying that until, like, for another, I guess, like, what? That basically for, like, another 12 hours, we're not gonna break the new lows. But, I mean, we can a little in Bitcoin. I just fucking want that to happen. Alright, Ripple. Okay, we have this very fairly visible trend line broken. I think this wick, I don't know if this was real, so I guess I have to ignore this. Yeah, that wasn't real. And it wasn't really respected much here. It's something. It's not nothing, but you know. And Ripple hitting this trend line was a very would have been a very good place to add to the short, not just in Ripple but in everything. Where does this say though? Does this have like a downside target? I mean, on the MT4 it looked like it did, but maybe not. Oh yeah, okay. So these prior lows. Actually, no, we don't have that. Maybe this low? No. So we don't really have, it's not, I mean, we're so close, I'm sure it'll get broken. I think the next major area of support is around 20 cents. A little over 20 cents. And so I think on Ripple, there's not enough clear support to know where to cover. And so I guess Ripple will not be helpful in that regard. So I want to see why on this daily it looks like I have a lot of support here, and this has a price of 37 cents this low in Ripple, but there's some distortion because that low came on, you know, April, and this is April, and Bitfinex is saying that's not correct, and so I have to go with Bitfinex, and that's important because if I only looked at the MT4, I would have made a serious problem because other people are using that as support, and that is what is on MT4. That's false data, it seems. Okay, and I'm gonna check on Bitfinex. I just don't want to show it. So on Bitfinex, directly from Bitfinex website, or account information, we've already broken that low. So that's not important. I don't no idea what. So there's no very clear. I think I could plot like monthly pivot points, yearly pivot points, but I don't have them, and I only know how to do that with MetaTrader 4. But with MetaTrader 4. The values are going to be completely off because the charts don't match up with Bitfinex. It just doesn't. And Monero looks like we've just broken down and we're bear flagging and we're gonna sell off pretty hard soon. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. Maybe within like 12 hours from now, that will start. That'll be great. And I was thinking of adding to the short in Monero at 130. I think I just didn't look at the chart. And what's very, oh god, there's this very clear MACD divergence. And if I had just looked at this yesterday, I could have added to that short properly. On a Monero chart, is there any support along? I mean, on Monero is very super bearish, and so we have this big triangle that's broken down completely. Next support, I would say in Monero is around the 90 area. Alright, again, there's not a huge amount of support we haven't hit, so I would say 100 just as a psychological level. That's these prior highs, so maybe 100. We could see Monero drop to 100, and that might be a major thing to keep it. That is probably some area that is more, has a good chance of seeing a bounce more than, like, for example, 108, which is a bit random. But people might want to say I'm covering my short here, or they're gonna say I'm gonna go long at 100. And there's enough distance to 100 to think that that can happen with Bitcoin needing to drop to the low 5Ks first. IOTA. IOTA is right on a lot of support, but it's breaking through actually. And in iota, the next major support is around like 66 cents or so, high 60s. But yeah, we're at a lot of support this low here, these prior highs, this high. It's just that we're starting to dig through, and I don't think other things are at a lot of support yet. And so this is more likely to break down, like a fall like this, I would think. Something good down to the low 5Ks. And then if we get a pullback, it'll pull back to this area. Maybe. Or as one likely place. Okay. Zcash for the possibility of a head and shoulders. If I draw a trend line, and again, I'm having a lot of trouble with these trend lines. But it looks like that was broken there. Like if I just eyeball it. Maybe I have to double click it. Yeah, double click. Oh, that's the secret. Yeah, that looks like it was a head and shoulders break. Jesus Christ. Wow. That would have been a great short to enter. And I was already fully short. But, see, looking at these charts and figuring out what's going on would have given me a lot of ideas about what to do, understandings that I didn't have before now. Last OMG. Oh my god. I mean, OMG is just an absurd something that was in the summer at like 50 cents and went to $25. I mean, I definitely want to short something like that. Because that kind of rise is ridiculous. I mean, I think most cryptos actually did some stuff like that, but I mean, we are at this prior major low. Oh, we just broke it, and so I mean we're still in the area, but I think it's more likely we'll head down, and I think the next prior support is this low here that is at just over 550. So it's another like a little like maybe 20% down from here. So what are my plans on what I'm gonna do? What are my conclusions? What am I do? I'm gonna basically cover in the low 5Ks, maybe in the mid like around 360-ish or something in Ethereum, 600 Bitcoin Cash. Those are the main areas I'm looking at right now. 100 in Monero. I did miss the Zcash thing, but it's not, and I missed adding to the Monero short when there was clear divergence in the MACD, and I didn't see it. So the information is there, I just have to go get it. Okay? Alright. Information is there. Alright, well, I guess that's it. I didn't cover Dash. Do want to look at Dash. Yeah, I think what was key was this. That got broken. I mean, I do have the horizontal, but that got broken. And this is, you could say it's like a head and shoulders to some degree. But we're gonna, so you have head and shoulders in a lot of things. I mean, this is extremely bearish. Extremely bearish. Oh man. Bearish is all hell. It's almost no. I mean, I just don't foresee any way that we could get like a negation of its bearishness apart from pullback. So I don't think I'm gonna go long at all. Just cover like half at different stopping points along the way. The only place I think I could go long is maybe 3K. It's a sufficient enough drop. I'd have to see. It's not even that I would. It's just that I would have to see. Alright, that's it. Anyway, I hope that helped, and please like and subscribe.